It started as a low hum. Lena first heard it late one night, headphones off, screen glowing in the dark. Her computer crackled, the speakers emitted a faint static, and then, the hum. It wasn't part of the song she had paused. It came from behind the screen, beneath the code, like a whisper in digital skin. She leaned in. A flicker. For half a second, her screen turned black, then flashed white before returning to normal. On her desktop, a new folder appeared. Unnamed. She didn't make it. She clicked. Inside was one file, feed.mp4. Lena hesitated, hand frozen on the mouse. Her apartment was too quiet now. No cars outside. No wind. Even the old pipes in the walls held their breath. Her stomach twisted. She double-clicked. The screen turned black. No loading bar. No buffering. Just black. Then, a shape. It was grainy. At first, it looked like a person standing still in an empty room, but the figure was slightly wrong. Too long. Its head cocked unnaturally, twitching like a broken puppet. It stared directly into the camera. No face. Just a gaping, static-filled void where eyes and mouth should have been. The hum grew louder. Lena's hands trembled. She tried to close the window, but her mouse wouldn't move. The cursor stayed pinned in place like it was watching too. Suddenly, the thing on the screen moved. It jerked forward, closer to the camera. Closer. The hum split into a distorted, agonizing screech. The screen rippled, almost like it had depth, like the thing was pushing through. The video cut out. Her screen returned to normal. No file. No folder. Lena backed away from the desk. That's when the lights died. A shape appeared in the corner of her room, darker than the shadows around it. Tall. Head cocked. No face. The humming returned, this time, not from the speakers, but from behind her. And then, a voice rasped from the blackness, digital and broken. "Thank you for watching the feed." Lena screamed. Across the city, others clicked on the same file. Miles away, in a crumbling apartment building near the edge of town, Jacob sat on his bed with the lights off, scrolling aimlessly through forums that whispered of forbidden links. One post stood out, buried deep in a thread marked NSFL, "Do not watch the feed." Curiosity won. It always did. The post contained no image, no description, just a link and the phrase, "You cannot unsee it. It watches back." Jacob clicked. The page was pure black, save for a pulsing red dot in the center. He stared at it, hypnotized. A single word faded into view, feed. Then, without him pressing play, a video began. The same figure. Tall. Twitching. Faceless. This time, it was standing in an alley, its limbs stretched impossibly long, almost scraping the sides of the brick walls. Static swam across the screen like insects trapped in glass. The video pulsed with a sound Jacob felt more than heard, like a vibration inside his skull. As the figure moved, the camera shifted like someone was filming it, running backward. Choppy frames. Sudden blurs. Then, the camera fell. The video cut out. Jacob stared at the screen, breath shallow. His window, once reflecting the glow of his monitor, had turned pitch black, like the glass no longer reflected anything at all. Then he noticed the reflection wasn't his. A shape was behind him in the glass. He spun. Nothing. But something had changed. The air was heavier. His laptop fan spun wildly, louder, faster, until it screamed. His screen blinked. A single frame appeared. A face, no, a void where a face should be, glaring directly at him. He slammed the laptop shut. Silence. But the screen inside still glowed. Outside his room, the hallway light flickered. Floorboards creaked. Something was walking, slow, dragging steps. He wasn't alone anymore. Jacob reached for his phone. It had reset. Only one app remained, a red dot with no name. When he tapped it, the screen whispered. More must watch. Across town, phones vibrated. Laptops powered on. The feed was spreading. And it was hungry. Maria hadn't heard of the feed. Not until her roommate, Tanya, locked herself in the bathroom at 3 a.m., sobbing and scratching at the tiles. Tanya? Maria knocked. You okay? A choked voice responded, it's still watching. I didn't even press play. That's when Maria saw Tanya's laptop open on the bed, the video paused on a single warped frame, a hallway stretching into darkness, the figure barely visible at the end. Twitching. Waiting. She shut the laptop. Nothing changed. Tanya began to scream. Maria forced the bathroom door open, and gasped. Tanya's eyes were rolled back, her mouth agape, streaming blood from the nose, fingers clawing at her own skin like she was trying to peel it off. Tanya. Tanya collapsed. No pulse. The lights in the apartment blew out. The hum came next. Deep. Vibrational. From everywhere and nowhere. Maria ran. She sprinted down the stairs barefoot, heart pounding, Tanya's blood on her hands. The building groaned. Doors rattled. From behind every peephole, something watched. Outside, streetlights flickered wildly. She flagged down a passing driver, a man with hollow eyes glued to a phone on the dashboard. He didn't acknowledge her. The phone was playing feed.mp4. The figure flickered on screen, but then, Maria saw something impossible. The figure moved outside the phone. It was standing just behind the windshield, long fingers pressed to the glass from the inside, even though the man was alone in the car. The driver's head lolled, blood dripping from his ears. The car swerved. Crashed into a post. Maria backed away, breath visible in the suddenly cold night. A whisper tickled her ear. You're already watching. She turned. Nothing. But her phone buzzed. New notification, download complete, feed.mp4. She hadn't clicked anything. She threw the phone down, but it lit up on its own. The screen glowed with the red dot. Maria didn't move. Her legs wouldn't obey. Her vision blurred. Somewhere deep within the phone, something was coming through. The feed didn't need internet anymore. It just needed you to look. Detective Ron Keller had seen plenty in his 20 years on the force: murder, madness, mayhem. But never this. 3 victims. All from different parts of the city. All dead within hours of one another. Same signs: burst blood vessels in the eyes, expressions of absolute terror, and screens nearby frozen on static. But no evidence. No killer. No wounds. At the third scene, something was wrong. The air was too still. The lights refused to stay on. Keller stood over the last victim, a teenage boy, slumped against the wall, face contorted in horror. His laptop was open. One file on the desktop, feed.mp4. Keller clicked. Only static. No playback. Then the screen pulsed. Once. The static cleared just enough to see an eye. Large. Inhuman. Staring through the screen like it knew Keller was there. It blinked slowly, then opened wider, cracking pixels as it did. Keller recoiled. Christ. The lights flickered violently. The air smelled like burning plastic. Then his body locked up. He couldn't move. Couldn't blink. The screen whispered. We see through you now. Flashes filled his mind. Screams. Blood. Hallways that twisted like intestines. Faces without skin. Fingers tapping glass from the inside. He tried to scream, but his mouth wouldn't open. Behind him, the shadow took shape. Not human. Too tall. Too wrong. A body made of broken footage, stitched together with static. It stepped forward, dragging its limbs like corrupted frames. Keller's eyes bled. In one blinding instant, the video stopped. He awoke an hour later, lying on the floor, gun drawn, ears ringing. The laptop? Gone. So was the body. The only trace was a sentence burned into the wall in flickering pixels. "We're feeding now." That night, every surveillance camera in the city turned on by itself. Every lens, watching. The feed had evolved. It didn't need files anymore. It used sight. If you had eyes, you could be infected. And every eye, human or machine, was now part of it. By the fifth day, the world was changing. People stopped leaving their homes. Screens were covered in towels. Mirrors shattered. Phones thrown in rivers. Anything that could reflect or record, destroyed. But it wasn't enough. Because it wasn't just on screens anymore. The feed had burrowed into people. Kendra had barricaded herself in her tiny studio apartment. No lights. No Wi-Fi. Her laptop smashed. Her TV tossed out the window. The camera lens on her phone gouged out with a knife. She didn't sleep. Didn't blink too long. But it still came. At first, she thought she was imagining the twitching figure in the corner of her vision. But it never moved when she looked straight at it. Only when her eyes shifted away. Then it began speaking. Not aloud, but through her reflection. In the cracked mirror above her sink, her reflection didn't mimic her movements anymore. It smiled. "You let it in," it whispered. "You watched, even for a moment. That's all it needs." Kendra slammed the mirror with her fist. Shards rained down. Her blood smeared across the sink. She curled up on the floor, sobbing. "I didn't know. I didn't mean to." The hum returned, low, vibrating through her teeth, building into a deafening chorus of whispers. Her phone, supposedly dead, lit up on its own. The red dot pulsed. From the phone's shattered speaker, 100 voices murmured in unison. "See us. Feed us." Her walls began to bleed static, gray, crawling lines that slithered like veins through the paint. From the shadows, the figure emerged. Not walking. Glitching. Its limbs shifted between frames, lagging behind its movement. Its face was a black hole of pixels, sucking in light, sound, and sanity. Kendra tried to scream, but her throat only rasped distorted static. Her vision flickered. The world skipped frames. Her body froze, mid-breath. And then, black. Her eyes opened an hour later, but they weren't hers anymore. She stood calmly. Smiled at nothing. Picked up the phone. Recorded. And sent the feed to all her contacts. The hunger had grown. It needed more viewers. And now, Kendra was part of it. The government tried to intervene. Broadcast systems were shut down. Cell towers disabled. Satellites jammed. But it didn't matter. The feed no longer relied on signals. It was the signal. A parasitic broadcast embedded in perception itself. Dr. Elwin Marr, a neurooptics researcher, was one of the last to understand what they were truly dealing with. "It's not a video," he whispered into his tape recorder. "It's a pattern. A sequence of light and shape that hijacks the brain. Once seen, it rewrites you." He paced the dark lab, walls lined with aluminum foil and lead sheets. A pitiful attempt to keep the world out. "It's not code. It's visual contagion. A mimetic virus. A weaponized hallucination. He stared at the dissected eye on his table, taken from a patient who clawed it out after watching something wrong. Even detached, the optic nerve twitched. The retina pulsed with faint static. Suddenly, the lab lights surged, then exploded in a pop of glass and ozone. The backup monitors flickered to life. He hadn't turned them on. The central screen blared static. Then the red dot. Then a whisper. "We've always been watching." He tried to shut it off, but his limbs resisted. His hands wanted to touch the screen. Images flashed, cities in ruin, people with bleeding eyes kneeling in front of their own devices, worshipping flickering screens. The figure stepped forward. It had grown. Not in size, but in complexity. Faces merged into its body. Eyeballs stretched from its arms like tumors. Antennas twitched from its spine, pulsing with stolen data. It reached toward the screen. And from the inside of the glass, a hand pushed through. Flesh merged with signal. Pixel with nerve. The feed was no longer content with watching. It was crossing over. Elwyn screamed as the hand gripped his face, pulling it toward the screen. The last thing he saw before everything went black. His own reflection inside the monitor, smiling. Later that night, his lab broadcasted an emergency signal to all nearby devices. Not a warning. But an invitation. Come see. Come feed. They said the sky turned red before the final transmission. It started with a low-frequency hum, rumbling through every speaker, every device, then silence. Then the broadcast. It wasn't a video anymore. It was the world. Streets flickered like VHS tape. People walked in loops, jerking, repeating the same motion over and over, caught in corrupted memory. Skyscrapers shimmered with ghostly overlays, buildings from older times phasing in and out like forgotten frames. Static bled from clouds. And in the center of it all, the tower rose. Not built by man. It grew, tendrils of antenna and screen, wires dripping with blood and data. A pulsating monument of forgotten viewers. From its peak, the red dot blinked. Always recording. Always feeding. Maria stood beneath it, barely human now. Her eyes were milky screens. Her mouth clicked in binary hums. She no longer needed to speak. She broadcasted. And billions watched. They couldn't look away. Some clawed their eyes out. Some smiled and walked into fire. Others stood perfectly still, gazing into the invisible screen in the sky, laughing as their skin pixelated and peeled away. The figure walked the streets now. Unchallenged. A deity made of failed memories, viral content, corrupted flesh. Its followers grew in number. All it took was one glance. A reflection. A whisper through a wall. And you were part of the feed. In the last resistance outpost, deep underground, one child sat in silence, a bandage over her eyes. She had never seen a screen. She had never watched. She was the last uninfected soul. But the walls began to buzz. And from the ceiling, a light flickered. Red. The hum returned. Recording. Streaming. Feeding. Above, the tower let out a final signal. Not a scream. Not a sound. A thought. One shared by all who had seen it. We were never meant to look. And in that moment, the world was consumed. Not in flame. Not in war. But in sight. The screen goes black. But the red dot stays. Watching you now. End.